Hello everybody, welcome back. I am extremely fresh-faced, no makeup. This is kind of me on the daily, the real me. It was preventing me from putting out content all the time because I was thinking, oh, I can't do YouTube because I need to do my face and stuff like that. And there's so much that I want to create for you guys. And I was like, realistically, when I've sort of been training or got other sort of priorities, I don't have a full face of makeup and things like that. So I was thinking, no, do you know what? People need to see reality. And guys, a lot of us reality is this and this. So let's all crack on together. So today I'm going to talk to you about bikini. If any of you follow me on social, you'll know that I've competed in bikini for 4 years now. I've done, excuse me, I've done 11, 12 shows, and that's been across a couple of different federations, I think 4 different federations. I've always placed pretty consistently within the top 3, done better in some than others. And yeah, the question I get asked a lot is bikini, what are they looking for? What is bikini? And what does each federation want? Because not every body type is going to fit with every federation. And bikini is so subjective and can vary quite a lot with each federation, to be fair. Different federations have a different style of bikini and a different look that they go for, and it's all about where your shape fits or the shape that you want to achieve. So it mightn't be necessarily what your shape is now, but if you look at that bikini, does your body type lend itself to that? And is that ultimately what you want to look like? Because there's no point being I'm going to do a bikini show, but that's not actually the shape that you want to look like. It's I started competing with the UK BFF when I very first started competing, but that was because at the time I didn't know anything else. Someone had suggested, oh my God, you should do bikini. And I literally Googled and was like, oh, there's a show coming up near me in Warrington in 6 weeks. I'm going to do that show. And I just rocked up to the Northwest. And really, if I had taken a step back, done a bit more research, I probably wouldn't have gone down the UK BFF route, hence sort of why I came out of that a bit later, because I was finding that the girls were coming in a lot smaller and a little bit less muscle mass, and I have always had sort of broad shoulders from dancing and things like that, and that's sort of my structure. I want to hold a little bit more muscle, and I just wasn't fitting in with that criteria. So different federations have different criteria. Massive credit to the athletes that I am going to use as an example. You are all beautiful, beautiful pros in your federation, and you all look absolutely insane. So the 4 main federations that I'm going to speak to you about today, forgive me, I have some notes for you, is the IFBB Elite Federation, the PCA, the IFBB / IFBB Pro League, and the WBFF. So they're kind of your general 4 kind of federations that a lot of people are aware of and will probably be looking to sort of compete in. So I want to sort of outline what I feel are the expectations of that federation. Massive disclaimer to start off with, this is my interpretations of the shape of each federation. If you're going to compete, please do your own research into the federation, where you think you're going to fit, and where they're looking for. This is just my own experience and my interpretation of each federation to give you a bit of a starting base, and then you can kind of go from there. So do your research, guys, please, before you make any decisions. What is bikini in general? Bikini, as a category, it was created to be more achievable. So it's an easily achievable look. It appeals to the everyday gym goer. She's polished, she's well presented, she's toned and defined, but she's not too muscular or too lean. She has feminine curves, she's got sort of bubbly muscle, good delts, good glutes. She's got a great overall look, great complexion, great hair, great stage presence. She carries herself well, and she is generally appealing to the female gym goer. And bikini, the idea is that the average gym goer can look at bikini and be like, you know what, that's achievable. It looks nice, it's feminine, it's strong, but it's an entry level to the bodybuilding world. So I'm going to kick us off with the IFBB Elite Pro. And I'm not going to lie, guys, this is definitely the federation out of the 4 that I know the least about. It's not, I will hold my hands up, it's not a federation that I kind of follow in terms of news, progress, like things like that. So overall, IFBB Elite Pro tend to be sort of very small, very tight frame, that kind of look that we are coming sort of used to see in the UK BFF. So not masses of muscle mass, but are generally very lean in the middle, very tight core. It tends to be very long, slim, slender legs, so not masses of muscle mass in the legs, very long, slim and slender. Very, very beautiful overall look. They don't, as I say, don't have masses of overdeveloped muscle mass, but their conditioning and the body fat levels that they tend to come in at really accentuate their proportions. So they look absolutely ripped when you look at them on stage. You think, oh my God, I dealt. But when you see them in person, they're actually quite tiny, but because their body fat levels are quite low, especially in their upper body, tiny waist, and then their delts do appear bigger because they come in quite ripped, they're quite shoulder capped, but they're not heavy muscle, they're just very conditioned, I guess. So if you look at like the overall look, especially from the back, they tend to go very, so nice sort of wide back, again not overly muscular, but the back you'll see with, as you look at different federations, the posing is completely different, but that is for another video. They tend to pose in quite a wide V, like a lat spread type pose from the back, and generally it's kind of like that upside down triangle, so nice and broad, nice little delts, well defined, wider back, tiny waist, and then very long sort of slim slender legs, is that kind of overall shape I see when I look at the IFBB Elite Pro. Very beautiful overall package, very polished, beautiful stage look, very striking. They all look really well polished when they're on stage, which I've noticed anytime I've seen photos or videos of the sort of European Elite Pro shows, which is definitely notable. And the trend with bikinis with this federation tends to be that kind of bra shape structure with that high V. I think it's a very European sort of shape, but it's very flattering, especially on the body type that they tend to go for. If you are sort of creating that illusion of that tiny waist and long slender legs, that V cut is definitely going to lend itself to that. PCA bikini, very popular at the minute. For this example, I have used the absolutely stunning Kerry Sexton. That is how I pronounce your surname, isn't it? Kerry Sexton, I think it is. Kerry is absolutely stunning, has a beautiful bikini shape. She is definitely like, I think, the beacon for a lot of bikini toned girls, especially competing with the PCA. She has done incredibly well recently as well, so kudos to Kerry, you are looking awesome. Now, I've popped this sort of second because this can massively, I feel like the PCA can massively vary in the muscle that they're looking for. So from show to show, some of the toned girls carry a bit more muscle. Like I actually did win a PCA toned qualifier, and I'm quite muscular for a bikini girl, I feel. But then you go to some shows and some of the toned girls don't have much muscle at all, and they just have a beautiful overall look and carry themselves really lovely on stage. So yeah, it's difficult what they're sort of looking for. So obviously we use Kerry as the example. If you look at Kerry's shape, I think she's very deceiving, because you look at her and think, oh, she's massive, like she's ripped, look at her delt. But if you follow Kerry online, she competes under 100 pounds, so she's tiny, like she's actually tiny, but because her proportions are so good and her condition is brilliant, again, it's that illusion. So the way she comes in with her delts, with her small waist, very similar, I feel, to the Elite Pro shape in that, again, the posing with PCA, the back lat spread, again, nice long slender legs, nothing too heavy, nice little round glutes, and then slim legs. Similar, but I think the level of conditioning with PCA is higher, and I think as well you can get away with this federation with a little bit more muscle. If you do carry a bit more muscle, I think it lends itself well in this federation, from what I've seen anyway. And obviously PCA, I think, the only federation to have two bikini categories. So they've got bikini toned, which Kerry I think is classified as, correct me if I'm wrong please, and bikini trained at the qualifiers as well. Now bikini trained for me is probably as heavy as like sort of a heavy toned figure girl in the likes of like Naba, but it's bikini posing. So bikini adds the flair, it adds the sass, very feminine, there's obviously no overheads, it's all very feminine, model-esque, flowy, and that's kind of like, so your train shape is a lot more heavy in muscle density, but still like bikini flair and sassiness. So it's not like a heavy bodybuilding kind of structure. You still got to have that flair, that sass, and carry yourself well. It's just that obviously with bikini trained, you're going to be carrying a lot more sort of muscle density. But I do feel like condition wise, I feel from past experience with PCA, condition it can be quite high in both categories. So very low levels of body fat, and great conditioning across toned and trained. Only difference being trained, your muscles more dense. If you look at the trained girls, they've got really good muscle on their legs, banging glutes, wide back, quite thick muscle on the back, big delts, ripped in the middle. They look awesome, but it is a very different look to the toned look, which is a less muscle, obviously shoulder caps, good glutes, slim legs, which we tend to see through the toned class rather than the trained. IFBB and IFBB Pro League. For a lot of people, this is like the creme de la creme of bikini. It's what a lot of people will look up to, the Olympia stage, what a lot of people aspire to be achieving, and the shape and the bikini ideal. I think a lot of people look at like the Olympia and things, and this is the federation that a lot of people look to. I am so excited that they have now come over to the UK. And we are starting to see that kind of consistent placing of that shape that we expect from the Pro League, which I think is massively important, the consistency and progression between the two. So as an example for IFBB, I have used the beautiful Angelica Teixeira. I think, again, that's how you pronounce her surname. She is stunning. I mean, stunning to look at, but she's just a beautiful person. I've spoken to her a couple of times, and she's just like, she's stunning from the inside out. She's so kind, so lovely, and you can kind of, she's like the epitome of an Olympia winner, I feel. She has an awesome shape. You can see, I think with IFBB Pro League, a lot more sort of muscle everywhere. Obviously not massively muscular, but comparatively to the likes of like your PCA or your IFBB Elite Pro. Slightly heavier in the bottom, so I think obviously glutes are everything, I think, with this federation. Nice rounded shoulders, nothing obviously too conditioned, but then banging glutes, really good glutes, little glute ham tie-in and nothing kind of more. But there is a lot, I think, if you compare like the leg structure from other federations, there is more muscle in the legs. And I felt like this was always kind of where my muscle density lied. It was slightly, not heavier, but it was a lot more sort of curvy muscle, very feminine muscle, very well polished, extremely well presented, glowy presence, no striations in the muscle. So lean enough to have that nice tight waist, everything's nice and tight, but keep that curvy muscle. So the curve in the glutes, the slight little curve in the hamstring, you know, the rounded delts, without having those striations or being too lean. You just can't trying to keep that feminine curve all over. But that beautiful glowy presence, great hair, great overall look, confidence on stage, spot on posing, I think is that kind of IFBB Pro League standard. For me, with the IFBB Pro League, the girls, even when they're on stage, they look strong. Okay, we all know by the time you get to stage, you're going to be like depleted, or obviously you're filled out, but you know, you're not going to be at your strongest. But the girls on stage, is still the amount of muscle they carry, they look strong. So they're still showing off that muscle density. And if you look at the bikinis that tend to be the trend for IFBB, you'll see that a lot of the girls wear like a triangle cup with diamante connectors, and the same on the bottom, diamante connectors on the bottom as well. Obviously there isn't a written standard for your bikini, well, so far that I know of with the IFBB and IFBB Pro League, but you know, when there's general trends out there, I think it's nice to keep in with that trend, because then everybody can be judged in a similar kind of way. And that tends to be the trend at the minute. Diamante connectors, both top and bottom, to give that overall look. And I think it makes a difference. Like if I look at my photos from my like V bikini at PCA and then my bikini with connectors at IFBB, it does change your overall look. Like I definitely preferred my look when I was in that triangle bikini, because I feel like it lent itself better to my body shape and the way I was presenting. The posing's completely different, again, something I'll discuss in more depth in another video. But that, again, lends itself to the shape of the bikini, how you're going to be turning, how you're going to be twisting, and where you're going to be showing off. So yeah, a few different little tweaks in terms of presentation with IFBB. And finally, the WBFF. Now, I've popped this at the end because as a federation, I feel like they're generally a little bit more muscular. When you think of WBFF competitor, you can get quite muscular even in like your diva categories. Your diva bikini, diva fitness, quite a lot of muscle on them again, but I've seen winners that aren't that muscular. Well, I don't know actually, I think they're all quite muscular, but condition can vary quite a lot with WBFF. So they've got the muscle there, like the example I'm using for this is the beautiful Lauren Simpson, who's just won the Worlds as well, so she is on top form. And if you look at Lauren, like she has got muscle mass there, like she is muscular, she has got shoulders, strong legs, glutes, hams, quads, she's got muscle, but they're not like overly conditioned. With the conditioning in bikini with the WBFF, I feel does vary quite a lot, so especially from the back there might not be as much conditioning. It's very, very feminine, very, very model-like, so they're not judging you just on that body. I don't think anybody is in bikini anymore, it's an overall look, but I think heavily with the WBFF, it is that kind of model presence, and with the posing it's very modelly and flowy, how you carry yourself, and yeah, it's not as sort of conditioned. You know, if you look at some of the other pros like Rachel Dillon, stunning shape, but she hasn't got those like shoulder caps or anything like that. Amazing lower half, like her glutes and legs, but again, not the condition there. It's just that stunning overall I train modelly type look, which is absolutely beautiful, and what the WBFF kind of, I think, go for in their bikini. And yeah, the bikinis in the WBFF, if you look, are a lot more like elaborate. They're like samba costumes, they're awesome. They're like covered in embellishment and crystals, and there's like one shoulder ones, like no shoulders. Like I think, was it Rachel Dillon last year who had that stunning red one that like didn't join in the middle, it just like lace on her, like it was absolutely gorgeous. But again, it's more like showy and pageanty almost. But the girls look insane. Like you can obviously tell that they train, but they're just not packing that level of condition that some of the other federations pack, but they're packing other things that the other federations don't. So like that showmanship and the overall package and the general confidence and the model X factor type thing is definitely judged on in the WBFF, I feel. So super quick rundown of those 4 main federations, my opinion of those federations and how I feel they differ from each other. I'm sure there's a lot more sort of in depth to go with those, especially with the posing, which, as I say, I will break down a little bit more in a future video. But I hope this gives you a little bit more insight into what to expect from each federation and how the word bikini can be completely different from one federation to another. I will pop at the end the 4 pros that I've used as an example against each other, just so that you can see how that can vary between each federation. And yeah, just hope that gives you a good starting point about where you feel that you could fit if you are to compete, where you feel like you should sort of start off researching. But as I say, guys, do your research. This is just my opinion and things that I've kind of picked up on and used throughout my time on the scene. And yeah, so good starting point, do your research, look at the pros in that federation, because ultimately if you start competing with a federation and you're aiming to progress through, it's the pros that you're going to want to be aiming to look like. So look at their pros. Is that a body type that will lend well to your body type? Is that a body type and level of muscle that you want to achieve? And yeah, just go from there. I hope you've enjoyed, guys. Hope you found this useful. If you've got any other questions, anything more in depth on each of the bikini categories or my experience, just drop me a comment below or email charly@charlypfit.co.uk and I will definitely get back to you. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, guys.